Minnesota. I'm your host, Alan Tracy.
I am Rahana Power.
And today we have actor Justen Jones joining us. Hello, Justin.
Hey, y'all. Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're really excited to, jump in and talk to you about a bunch of things. But before we do, want to get to know you a little bit on more of a personal level. So is there anything you could tell us about yourself, something fun, unique, interesting that you'd like to do, or just about you?
Yeah, I love to cook. Cooking is one of my love languages. I've been cooking since I was 6 years old, and I started in the kitchen as my mom's sous chef, as well as my grandpa's sous chef. My mom's dad really, he really let me dive deep. Like he would let me kind of mess up in the kitchen, and then that sort of transitioned into my mom. Unbeknownst to her and my culinary escapades in my grandparents' kitchen, she let me, experiment a little bit. And then it turned into me being a latchkey kid and experimenting with food when my parents weren't home. And then they would come home from work and kind of just go, what the hell has been happening in this kitchen? But yeah, I love cooking. That's something that I really enjoy. And there's another thing that I think a lot of people don't know. On top of being an actor, and I've been acting since I was about professionally 21, 22, I was a tour manager for a long time, and I managed consumer product tours, traveling around the country, doing sampling programs. I worked with minor league baseball for a few years, traveled around in an RV, and stayed at minor league ballparks and Walmart parking lots.
Whoa.
So I spent a lot of time on the road for years, and then I've worked with U.S. Youth Soccer for a long time, and I still work with youth soccer and do some fun stuff in that space. So, kind of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that you love to cook. I feel like that's a really special thing. I don't have the patience for it, but I feel like those who really love to do it, you guys can really nail some unique things that would never come to mind for me. So I think that that's amazing. Plus, it seems so relaxing and kind of like just a really a good mental health thing.
It is, and
so
I think a lot of people during COVID, it was very meditative and very cathartic, and allowed a lot of people to find a new way to connect with their significant others and their families, and most importantly, themselves. Because I think that is it's a great way to express yourself without having to, always have the right words or the right things to say. You can just make somebody a meal, and I think as Anthony Bourdain would say, he's like people who cook are almost I don't remember the exact quote, but it was they're almost godly. Like somebody cooks for you, and that's a godly act. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. I feel like it's just such a beautiful expression when somebody makes you something to eat, because as I think a few ancient Greek philosophers said, one in particular, I won't mispronounce his name. It rhymes with hippopotamus. Let food be thy medicine. So food really is something that has such a healing, beautiful healing aspect to it, among other things. And so it's very nourishing. And so I think when somebody makes you a nourishing meal, that really is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's definitely a love language, as you said, an act of service, so to speak.
An act of service. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alan, if I cooked for you, you would get way more than a Hot Pocket. I would go,
what's wrong with the hot dog?
I'll make you a
nice
hot
barbecue.
Dog.
Yeah.
I said Hot Pocket. I think you deserve more than a Hot Pocket.
There we go. Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, if I cook for you, you might end up with a Hot Pocket or cereal.
Or an illness. Yeah.
Yes. I can make the best PB&J. I'm just saying.
Nice.
But So you had mentioned in that you started like professionally acting at 21. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into acting? Like what started you and kind of catapulted you into that?
Well, as a kid, I watched a lot of my classmates perform on stage in theater, and I would watch with a little bit of like jealous glee. Like I was happy for them and I was excited for them, but then there was a part of me that wanted to get on stage as well, but I was so shy, like deathly shy. Like a lot of my family, as I aged over the years, they've reminded me, my cousins remind me of how quiet I was as a kid. And so, yeah, I watched, I took notes, very observant kid. I was always watching people. And then behind closed doors, I would do impersonations of teachers and classmates and act out little sketches and get ideas for characters. And I think it was my sister's, oh man, was it? It was like her fourth birthday. It was the first performance that I did for anybody, and I did a puppet show, and that was the first like documented experience of me performing for people, and it was a basement filled with screaming kids, and it wasn't until high school when I tried out for a theater production, and that was my first like official audition, and then I took a break after my one audition, and I got cast as a lead in a high school musical, and I was also on the golf team, and I had to drop out of the musical. So my acting career never really, got to like take off or start the way I had kind of imagined it because I was overwhelmed. I couldn't nail the dancing. I had a hard time with the singing. It was a lot. And so I went to school. I went to college. I dropped out of college. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. It worked for me. It was exactly what I needed to do because I knew what I wanted to do. And I told my dad I wanted to be a sitcom actor. And so that's kind of the beginning of it all. I dropped out of college, worked some random jobs. I installed sprinkler systems, lawn sprinkler systems for a few summers and made enough money, wound up getting an agent, and then just auditioned, when I could audition. And it took me a while to actually like book a job. The very first job I ever booked was a Best Buy commercial. And I was an extra. And the Best Buy commercial was called Hockey. And I got bumped to a featured extra. And that was when I got my first residual check. And that it just sort of started there. And then the rest is, a history. That's like at least a 2-week conversation for
Yeah.
me to tell you the rest.
That's
Anyway,
interesting.
it was, yeah. So I just, in the beginning, it was a lot of auditioning. I think the coolest thing right out of the gate for me was I got a call back for an American Express commercial, and they flew me. This is how like, oh, I'm dating myself. This is how old I am. I mean, I'm 41, and there a sign of the times. So I'm 21. A lot of these productions just had more money available. And so they flew me to Chicago for a callback, which nowadays you would just do something on Zoom if somebody wasn't in market. And so, yeah, that was cool. I didn't get the job, but I thought that was pretty neat. I was like, oh my gosh, I got a call. It was like one of the first callbacks I'd ever gotten. And yeah, it was for a national spot for American Express. So that kept me like excited and, wanting to do it. Because this is an industry that's filled with a lot of rejection. So that was like my first taste of, I think I'm going to get it. And then I didn't get it.
That the call for the callback though is, man, that's a rush. So
that
awesome.
that if you could bottle that up, I'm pretty sure. I mean,
Yeah.
people would be lined up. They're like, I can just get the callback, like the call for the callback feeling.
Yes.
That's the equivalent of like drinking 5 Red Bulls. I think that's what that is.
Yes. Exactly.
Sounds great. No.
That's great. I don't recommend it, Alan. Do not drink 5 Red
Yeah.
Bulls.
Sounds a little dangerous,
Now, are these
but
sugar-free
exciting.
Red
Alan,
Bulls?
don't
What are
do it.
they?
Put the Red Bull down. Put the Red
I'm
Bull
gonna
down, Alan.
go get the Red Bull. Okay, so was that so that was like residual. I'm thinking like this is a commercial. You're getting residuals on this? That's
I
good.
got a residual on the Best Buy
Yeah.
commercial, which was the very first spot that I had ever worked on.
Mm.
And you could, and I got a residual because you could see my shoulder and part of my head. So I originally was, so yeah, because you could like catch like a part of my orbital socket in the front.
Wow.
They're like, oh, that's his likeness. He just got bumped up because I thought it was a mistake. I remember calling my agent and saying, I think somebody messed up. I got paid already. Why am I getting another check? And she goes, honey, that's a residual check. You got upgraded. So they call it an upgrade. And I got
Oh.
upgraded from an extra to a featured extra. And they cycled. So the commercial played and then it played again. So it got another cycle and then they send you another check. So,
Huh. So yeah, that's how you got started in acting. How about your first film role, and when was that?
when was that? First film role was in 2005. And it was a feature film called Fall Into Me. I think I was like 22 or 23. I want to say 23. And that was directed by a local filmmaker who's no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. His name was Tim Vandestieg, and really talented guy. He had done a movie called Mulligan around like Y2K, 2000, 2001, something like that. And that was local. But he actually got, and at the time he was ahead of the times. He got Subway to sponsor that movie called Mulligan. It was a golf movie, and he got a little bit of got some press on that. They had a distribution deal, and then he followed that up with a movie called Fall Into Me, which I auditioned for and got to work with him on that and had a supporting role. Ron Menzel was, I don't think he's here. I think he's in New York City. Heidi Fellner, bunch of local actors who, some of which are still working and some have moved on to other things since.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the beginning. 2005, Fall Into Me. You can maybe find a really low quality trailer on, I think we maybe shot it on a cell phone. I can't remember. I'm kidding.
Really?
I'm kidding.
I was gonna say,
But the trailer's on
myself.
YouTube. Yeah.
That's
So, yeah,
really
that
fun.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
Did you get a residual for that one?
I did not get a residual check for that one, Alan.
All
No,
right.
I didn't get a residual check for that one. That was a fun movie because I had no idea what I was doing, and I was really green in the gills, and it was all just like instinct and like anxiety and fear that drove most of my performance in that film. And it's funny, I don't have a ton of recollection of that project, I think, because I was riddled with anxiety the whole time.
Mhm.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a fun thing. I'm still friends with a few of the guys that were on the crew. And it's humble beginnings of an acting career. And it's always nice to have like a reference point of like, this is where I started. So
Absolutely. So, from that point until today, it's been a little bit since 2005.
it's been a
Barely
little
anything.
yeah. We have
But
social media now, which it was like
no
MySpace
kidding.
existed. Yeah.
That is pretty crazy. That was like the birth of that. Right then. But how now that you've developed so much of a process, I'm guessing, and all of that when it comes to getting a new role, like what's really your favorite part of that overall process?
I would say now, as I've gotten to know myself better, I think I immediately just look for connective tissue between myself and the dialogue, the character, which I didn't even know what that was. I would just show up like a blank slate and wait for somebody to tell me what to do. I mean, I'd have some ideas performatively, but most of the time I just was like stuck in people pleaser mode when I was in my younger years. And so I would wait for somebody to tell me what to do. And sometimes they wouldn't. And then you would just make not so great choices and then get corrected. But now there's a lot of freedom, I think, that comes with having more repetitions under your belt and feeling more comfortable in front of a camera, in front of a crew, in front of a bunch of lights just blaring down on you. I think going into projects now, I just try to like get the lines down and just get the words so I have ammunition. And then a lot of the performance for me now just comes through like what I'm wearing. So if it is a little more charactery, or if it's like a period film or something that is a little more novel, and so I'm a little bit more like disguised or in character, I'll find it sometimes like the morning of the shoot or in the evening. I'm on set and I see myself in the mirror for the first time during maybe rehearsals, or we're doing like a makeup test. That's always fun to like see yourself in character and then go, okay, this is what it is. But I think finding a lot of the movement and the behavior for me comes through when you're around other actors and you're actually like doing it, which when you're doing on camera film, commercials, television, sometimes you get rehearsals, and sometimes the morning of, or like when you show up, you're rehearsing like right before your first take. So there's a little bit of recklessness in it all that I enjoy. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you've done quite a few different, types of roles of films. Do you have a favorite genre that you've done? And on the opposite end, a genre that you haven't done yet and you really, really want to?
Really, really want to do. Yeah, I've gotten to kind of touch on a few different genres. I would say my inner child, first response from my inner child would be horror. I love, body horror. I'm not a big torture. I think they call it like torture porn as the genre. I don't really like, the real graphic stuff. But I love, suspenseful, Hitchcockian type horror, psychological thrillers, that kind of stuff. I've been in a few romantic comedies. I do like that genre. I think comedy just naturally, it just like flows out of me. I don't know. I was just a really like chubby, insecure kid that found, humor to be something that like got me through a lot of situations and a lot of adversity growing up. And yeah, I like those two. One genre that I would enjoy doing, I don't get a lot of drama. I'd love to do a period movie. I don't know what that movie is. I don't know what the character is, but I do think it would be fun to do something not super period, but like 1940s, 1950s. I would enjoy, because that, I don't know, that era of time, kind of on the tail end of like Art Deco and then mid-century modern. I like the aesthetics. I like the fashion. Yeah, something in that realm, something a little dramatic. That's my final answer.
I like it. That's awesome. I'm I'm with you on the period piece. I feel like there's so many options there and I love that you like nailed it down. Like what like
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Yeah, I think that would be. I've been rewatching the latest season of Stranger Things, so I would also like to do just like a solid like mid '80s, like old school like buddy cop, 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon. I don't know, something like that would be really fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh. Do you have any inspirations, any favorite actors that you have looked up to that kind of form?
Oh yeah, I mean, do we want to go like through the decades? Like,
just hit them. Let's see what touch them all. Just like
touch them all. Yeah.
Do a run there.
I would say like a little more throwbacky. Humphrey Bogart, Jimmy Stewart. I would say, I there's some performative things that I really enjoyed from James Dean. Judy Garland, Wizard of Oz, like to me, that's just like such an amazing nostalgic movie that just like everything about it. It's so over the top and campy and cheesy, but also heartfelt and at times really well acted for that kind of period. Going into like early childhood, I would say Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Harrison Ford, very male dominant. Like there was so much testosterone in the movies that I was watching growing up. I really like Sigourney Weaver a lot. And then Gina Davis for sure.
Mm.
And then I don't know, I was really obsessed with, was it Madonna and Dick Tracy?
Yep.
Yeah, love Madonna and Dick Tracy. That's so random, but anyway. And then now, Jim Carrey, anything Jim Carrey does. I was heavily influenced by Jim Carrey growing up. Robin Williams, Jack Nicholson. And the list can just keep going on.
Okay, who's the actor for you? Who's your favorite?
I would say I don't. That's a tough
Do
one.
you have one?
I was like, I don't have like a favorite actor.
Yeah.
I'm really glad he's coming kind of back in. He's a Minnesota guy. Josh Hartnett is kind of having a resurgence. And I've always enjoyed Josh Hartnett. I just watched his episode of Black Mirror and I just was like, welcome back, buddy. Welcome back. He's been back.
Is he in the new season?
He's in the new season.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to check that out. So,
what were your thoughts on that episode without spoiling it for?
Oh, that episode. I can't say anything, but that's some dark, twisted stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was like, eye for an eye, cold, hot soup to cold soup. Like, thanks for the trade. Yeah. Wow. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, my anxiety level was like at the ceiling.
Right. That was big T trauma. Big T trauma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the way through.
Excellent acting across the board, though.
Across the board, everybody did a great job. Aaron Paul, great. All the actors in that episode were phenomenal. And I'm trying to think. Like favorite actor of all. Yeah, it's sort of a decades thing. It's just like there's not like one. I know some people could probably say there's one actor that moved me. For me, I like to cherry pick. I like elements of different actors in different movies. And sometimes it's not even the whole performance. It's just aspects of a performance that really stand out to me. And sometimes it's just one movie. The career as a whole, I maybe don't care for as much in terms of like artistic choices, but then there is that one performance where you're like, okay, you got me.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite movie? Like if you could only watch one movie again
over and over and over and over again.
Over and over.
So it's two movies and it would be Back to the Future or The Goonies.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Classics.
Classics. I think Back to the Future for me because I'm a big Huey Lewis and the News fan. And so I've got there's so many times I've driven around in my car with the Back to the Future soundtrack playing and I'm just going way too fast and making illegal turns and threatening my life and the life of other motor vehiclists. So thank you, Huey Lewis. Thank you, Back to the Future. Thank you, Michael J. Fox.
I also love Huey Lewis and the News, so I'm right there with you on that.
Oh my gosh, a good saxophone solo just makes my heart sing.
Yes. Yeah. So you've done a lot in your career so far. You still got decades to go, but
I'm just getting started. I feel like I still haven't figured.
Exactly.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, have you, up to this point, has your career like progressed in the way that you maybe would have thought or had hoped or anything like that? And if not, how come?
It hasn't, and I don't say that. Hopefully, that's not coming off in like a negative way. Um, it's not what I expected because I didn't know what I expected. I didn't know what to expect when I was younger. It was such a distorted visualization, very unrealistic visualization of like where I wanted to go. When I was younger, I just wanted to be the guy in movies. I wanted to be the guy in comedies. I think I saw myself, every time I'd watch, we'll say like a Jim Carrey movie, I saw myself. I wanted to do that. I go back really far and I go, every time I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme, because I had a small moment in time where I did martial arts. I think I got a gold belt in karate. And then I just was like, I lost focus. But then I wanted to be Chuck Norris. I wanted to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I saw myself in those. What was the question again? I totally spaced out.
No, you're good. Just how of the way that your career has progressed
Oh
since you started.
yeah. So when I was younger, I think I just saw myself being the guy in films. I saw myself being a lead in comedies. And I think there was an aspect of me that just it wasn't that I wanted to be famous. I just didn't realize that it would take time and it would take work. I just thought that you got discovered and you got to be in a TV show or you would get to be in a movie. I didn't realize how many no's it would take to get a yes. And that's the part, I guess, I never expected. And where I'm at, I've had a lot of yeses, but I've had way more no's than I've had yeses. And I could say, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's to have the little bouquet of yeses that is my acting career. And I think that's the beautiful thing is I just didn't really have super specific expectations, but I know like the thing that I was expecting is probably maybe down the road, another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, who knows? But aspects of kind of what I thought it would be like, I've gotten to touch and taste and feel, and I've gotten to experience a lot of cool things. I've gotten to travel the world a little bit doing it, and I've gotten to go to some cool cities and work on some great projects. And I think that's the beauty of not always having super specific expectations, is that you can just sort of enjoy the ride, which I've gotten to enjoy the ride. And it's nice at my age, having done this for 20 years, I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can enjoy what I'm doing and I'm not worried about performing for people in order to like get the job. Now it's just show up, do the thing, do what I love, and however it lands, it lands. And sometimes there's more beautiful stuff on the flip side, on like the other side of the no. So sometimes no is like my favorite thing. Sometimes things not working out, which I never thought in my early 20s was like a good thing, is a great thing. So, if you can't celebrate and embrace the no's, then I often would say like to myself and other people, then, why should you get to like bask in the glory of a yes if you can't respect the no? Because everybody's no eventually leads to like a yes for you. So just embrace it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Celebrate all the wins, celebrate the losses, because you find out there's no losing. It's all winning.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a really lovely way to look at it.
Indeed. Before I ask this next question, Justin, are you part of SAG at all?
I am currently vaccinated. I'm kidding. I thought you were going to ask me that, Justin. Are you currently vaccinated? Yes, I am. Well, the way you introed it, I started getting triggered. I'm like, yes, Alan. That's a joke. I'm just joking with you, dude. I'm joking. I am SAG eligible. I have worked on SAG projects. A lot of the work that I've done has been non-union. Some of the films like Christmas at the Chateau, Accidental Family. Those were non-union films. I know some actors were FICOR. I don't know like all the
Mhm.
details and everything, but me myself personally, I am eligible. So,
Mhm.
I would love to join the union. For me in the Twin Cities market, it's worked better for me to be non-union, and because we have predominantly a lot of
Right.
non-union work. I would say, historically, 70-ish% of on-camera work is non-union. And so it would be nice for that number to shift more towards union work. So yeah, it's something that I am considering more and more and more. Obviously now in the position I'm in, that next big thing that comes through, I will be joining the union. So
Right. So, of the roles you've played in the past, have there been any particular favorites? And I know with SAG, you're not allowed to really talk about struck work, but
yeah,
like for
yeah, I would say for me, most of the stuff, I've got some projects that are coming out. Um, but there are a few films that I've worked on that were non-union that are really great films that you know, that changed my life, really. I would say one
which
project,
ones? Yeah.
yeah. So the last couple of films, there's a filmmaker, Jason Hudson, who lives down in Missouri, and the last couple of features that have had really solid releases. We did a Christmas movie called Christmas at the Chateau, and we shot that in St. Joseph, Missouri, and that was my first time leading a feature film. I had, worked on a few projects before. That was 2017, the end of 2017. It was during the holiday season, and it's kind of a crazy story how it all came about. It came about through social media, and Jason Hudson reached out to me. And I mean, I didn't really have to go through a lot of the traditional casting pathways to get the part. He offered me the role, and we shot that movie over the course of 2018. And then we got a release on Showtime, which was really amazing for a small little film shot in Missouri. We had a pretty big release for that, and that was just an awesome experience. I made lifelong friends on that movie, and then we all came back together. Most of us, the leading lady, Kinsey Lee Redman is her name. Her and I teamed back up with Jason and a few other actors from Christmas at the Chateau, and we did a movie, Accidental Family, and we shot that in Missouri as well. Shot that in St. Joe, historic St. Joe, Missouri. And we shot that during the pandemic. So we shot that the summer of 2020. And yeah, that two films that brought me some of the best memories of my acting career.
Huh.
So yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about like your experience shooting it sort of the prime time
Oh,
of,
it
of the
was,
pandemic?
yeah, it was prime time pandemic. So we had we actually had an entirely different film script that we were going to shoot before the pandemic hit. And we had a few talks at the beginning of 2020. And then when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of uncertainty across the board in all channels, all avenues of life. We all were faced with a real collective, paradoxical event that forced us all to just question every thread of fabric in our lives. And there's a lot of uncertainty, especially in the creative field. I know a lot of film productions halted, and I also work in the event industry, and the event industry completely halted. And so, yeah, we were all just really uneasy and didn't know what we were going to do. And so we paused the project, and then Jason Hudson and his wife wrote a script and reached out to City Hall and some other folks in town and said, is there any way that we can make this happen? And I know Missouri was at the time a little bit more lax down there. They were masked up and whatnot, but we were able to pull it off with little to no obstacles. And so, testing every day was tough. We socially distanced. We all had masks on. There wasn't one case of COVID that hit our set. And so we were all safe. And we kind of were in this Goldilocks zone in St. Joe where every day we were able to just pull off our shot list and made it through about 3 weeks of filming and went into post-production, probably a month or two after we wrapped on filming. I know they went into post-production and then we screened it in 2021 and then it released last year in December. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
And really great that it went so smoothly and so well.
it
Like, it
was
was a good experience.
it was a great experience, but it was terrifying for a lot of folks when we were doing it, just like, we had as many safety parameters as we could enlist in place, and we followed all the rules, and everybody was safe and nobody got sick, and we made a movie, and it's fun to be able to look back on that. And not a lot of people know, we watch it and we're like, wow, we can't believe we actually managed to pull off a feature film when everybody else was shutting down. We were the little movie that, because we were non-union, it was a little bit easier to like work around the boundaries and, red tape and that sort of stuff. So, it worked out for us in that particular case, being non-union. Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to have like that really positive memory, that positive experience
Right.
within a really dark time.
Yeah.
So it's like a little light.
It was a little light. It was a
Exactly.
little beacon of hope. And,
Yeah.
and we had a shared experience, like working on films is this beautiful collective experience, and you do become a family. And so to really lean into each other and have this cool family dynamic during, a pandemic, during some like really uncertain times, was super heartfelt and heartful and comforting. Oddly enough, it was very comforting because we all were like in the same boat. We were all in the same boat. And what was cool was in 2021, it was a summer, it was like August of 2021, we had a big premiere at Missouri Theater, and it was a chance for the community to come out, and all of us actors got to see each other again. And I know some people were masked up for the most part, though. Like we were, just able to celebrate, see each other's faces and celebrate the movie. And that was pretty cool. So all that within, a year and a few months, we managed to shoot it, go into post-production, and then have a premiere, a screening was a good time. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. So it sounds like you've really primarily been in the acting role. When it comes to filmmaking, are there any other roles like on set or even pre-production, post-production, behind the camera that have interested you that you'd like to take on or are interested in, but you're maybe like, other people can do it, but I want to learn more about it. Or
I want to learn
like
more about it. I've actually done catering a few times. I've worked on Crafty, and I've cooked for a few of my friends' productions.
Fits perfectly.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, it's like food and acting. Literally, it's like food, acting, golf, dogs. Food, acting, golf, and dogs. And then
what more do you need?
That's it. It's like, that's my life. My dog is somewhere around here. I think my dog passed out. He's giving me the silent treatment because I was away all day. And yeah, dogs, food, acting, golf. That's it. Those four things. And I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm not too bougie. I'm not complicated. Yeah, I would say for film work, catering, crafty, as a lot of people call it. But I've done full catering where I've cooked for multiple people. So there's a movie called BitCon that came out that Matt Osterman, local filmmaker director, made. And I intro the movie with a little voiceover. So I've got a little kind of prelude sort of thing that I got cast for. But I actually did catering on that and got to cook a few days for the crew and the cast and all that. And I made a lot of waffles for those folks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like a waffle iron? Or...
Oh, I had the waffle iron. I was making egg waffles. We were doing waffle omelets. I remember a couple of guys bringing me Oreos and they wanted me to make them an Oreo waffle. And we were throwing anything that you could put on a waffle iron. We were putting on a waffle iron. And I would say, we're waffling it, even though it wasn't like a traditional waffle. Let's waffle it. They'd be like, hey, Justin, what about this 30-piece container of lunch meat? Let's waffle it and see what happens. You know?
That's amazing. I'm obsessed with waffles. I'm a Leslie Nope.
Oh,
and
okay.
so
Yeah.
that is so fun to me. That's so fun.
Oh, waffle it. I'm like, I was bringing in shredded potatoes, hash browns. I'm like making hash brown waffles and cheese waffles. And so it's more of a shell and then you can like top it and it's just crispy cheese. So yeah, waffles all day. Waffle. You can waffle anything. You put your mind to it.
Wow.
Love it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Hey,
now I'm hungry.
Are you a waffle guy, Alan?
Yeah. I'm good with both.
Yeah, Alan actually has a waffle cooking right now next to him. We just can't see it on screen.
Alan, I can smell your waffle, dude. What the hell?
So you've done a lot of films that we've actually had on the podcast, from Sins of the Father, Infernal Machine, Dark Cloud.
Dark Cloud is like one of my. I just love that movie so much. That was such a fun.
It's so good, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great movie.
Yeah.
Jay Ness is one of my best friends. I can't wait for that guy to make another movie. Seriously, another feature film. Jay Ness.
Yeah, Jay, call me when you need.
Jay, I love you. Let's make a movie.
There it is. And then I guess just talk about like what's coming up next for you. Anything that you can talk about, you know. So.
Yeah. So there isn't a whole lot that I can talk about right now. There is some stuff that hopefully, if everything falls into place, could be really good for the state, really could be good for the industry here. I'm excited. I always know that there's, you know, a good audition around the corner. And so that keeps me pushing forward and present and just, you know, loving my life. I think it's most important for anybody in the industry, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera, to just develop your life and don't let the work become your life. I think that's when it gets really tough. So I think having good, healthy boundaries, developing your life, really lean into your interests and your personal relationships with friends and family and, you know, colleagues. I think that's really special. Something that I've worked on recently that is available on YouTube. I do a little series with Onsite Public Media, which is a public media company. And my dear friend, Tucson Morrison, Max Soberg, we go to the state fair and I try to eat as much of the state fair as I possibly can. And so we've got probably 13 to 15 little episodes of Justin versus the Fair that are currently available.
Nice.
And so that's our second year of doing that. We did it last year. We're
still hungry over here.
So, I mean, Alan, are you okay, Alan?
Are you able to share, or would it be spoiling anything, like what your favorite thing to eat at the fair is?
Oh, I think the fair's over. Yeah, the fair, everybody's experienced the fair to some degree at this point upon listening to your podcast. So I would say, as a proud Minnesota State Fair goer this year, and I can speak on behalf of last year too, what my favorite thing was, but this year I absolutely, without any doubt in my gluttonous mind, body, and soul, loved the BLT from Farmers Union, which the Farmers Union, it's all locally kind of grown, sourced foods. And it's like grandma and grandpa made it for you. This BLT, it's a fried green tomato BLT. And I think it hit a lot of
Oh,
greatest hits collections for a lot of folks, like their best of the fair. A lot of folks, a lot of foodies were saying that was it. For me, that was it. And then that's a new food item that I really loved. And something I never had before that I just tried was one of my cousins. We were hanging out and he got a salted nut roll, which Pearson's of local fame makes salted nut rolls. And
yep.
so I just thought that was it. That's a salted nut roll. There is a vendor at the fair that does fresh, so fresh, you two, salted nut rolls, which I just was like, that
Yeah.
what's the big deal? I got one. I went into a coma after I ate that. Like, it was so good, but it was like a year's worth of sugar in just a tiny little morsel.
uh,
That was surprisingly good, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I ate, and you can kind of see me traverse the fair and eat a lot of crazy food. Something that was wild that a lot of folks were kind of apprehensive about and not quite sure if they wanted to, commit the money to buying it and eating it was the crispy lutefisk steamed buns from Shanghai Henry's. And I never had lutefisk. I don't know if either of you had lutefisk before.
yeah. Uh,
You've had lutefisk?
yeah, I have. Not a fan.
The tone in your voice, I could tell that it was like a traumatizing experience for you.
No, thank
Oh,
you.
but
Oh,
was it good
it was good. It
or
was
okay?
mild. Yeah, it's a local family operation that makes the lutefisk. I can't remember the name of the family. So they assemble it at Shanghai Henry's, but it's not their lutefisk. It's another operation that's making the lutefisk. And it was mild. It was briny. It had a little bit of like a fermented flavor to it, but you can fry anything. You deep fry something. You could deep fry a Birkenstock sandal
You could waffle
and
something there.
you could waffle a Birkenstock and you would eat the Birkenstock because you can waffle anything.
Amazing.
So yeah,
Did
I would say
you
those were good. Yeah.
do you also try like the new beverages that they have when you go, or is it strictly like
It's food, but
is at
no,
least the
so one of the other great things at the fair this year was what was it? The waffle dog from Nordic Waffles. They are
Mhm.
pushing the fabric of time, space, and waffles over there. They're doing things with waffles that you never knew was possible. And they've got a Kermutchik hot dog bacon wrap. So Kermutchik, they're local. They make sausages, they make hot dogs, they make the meat.
Oh,
And so it's a locally made, well seasoned, well cured hot dog wrapped in bacon. And then it's the Nordic waffle, which is really thin. And it's got cheese and like a burger sauce, and there's pickles on it. And then to drink, it's like the no big dill pickle lemonade, no big dill lemonade.
Oh,
And it's a brewed lemonade. It was so good. So it's lemonade with
all right.
pickling spices. I think that was one of the best things at the fair, but I didn't really drink a lot of other beverages. But that beverage, I spied a lot of folks walking around with that cup.
hmm.
So
Okay. That sounds really interesting. I will say the one beverage that we tried,
yeah,
although I think it actually was there last year. I think last year it was new, but is the caramel apple seltzer, I think.
you did it.
And so it's little like they dip the cup in caramel, whatever, and then the seltzer is the
Yes.
like green apple or whatever. So good.
Yes.
So good. I don't even like caramel. And that was like, this is amazing. This is so good.
That's
So
great. And then what food wise did you have that you really enjoyed?
my favorite thing is the fish tacos. They used to be in the food building and now they have their own big stand that's actually right across the corner from the 1919 root beer stand.
Yes.
And
Is it like San
excellent.
Felipe or San Juan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. That's always lunch, no matter what other food we get.
Walleye. It's walleye, right? Walleye tacos.
I believe so. Yeah. Yep. Alan, what's your favorite?
Alan,
Well, my go-to is always the cheese curds. So, and then in the food building, I think it is. It's like,
Mhm.
mouthtrap.
yes, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. I feel like that line is always so long because that's just a classic for people. They
Yeah.
love those.
I missed it this
Awesome.
year though, so next year.
You're gonna have to make up for it. Alan, I'm gonna have to get you on Justin versus the Fair. We'll get you on a segment.
Okay, sounds good. We'll promote the podcast. I'll do it
There
for the
you go.
podcast.
Yeah. So,
Love it. Just trying all the things. This
And
is exciting.
before we get to some of our last questions here, Justin, I just have to say, you did a film for Z Fest with the Michaels, right?
yeah,
Oregon Trail, was it? Or
Ryan and Jamie.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was really good.
Oregon Road.
Road,
Oregon
yeah,
Road. Yeah.
yeah version of that, but
I have
your
so much fun with them. I have so much fun with
that
those.
character was hilarious. It's
Oh,
just
thanks,
like,
man.
yeah, and your voice control, everything. It was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, spot on.
I think that's something that's cool for you to point that out. That I never really realized that about myself until just recently, within like the last few years. Like it inherently was there, but somebody else mentioned that to me not too long ago. They're like, your vocal control. And I was like, oh, and that's something I really enjoy. I think that's my favorite. You had asked earlier on, how I like approach characters. That's something I absolutely love is finding the voice of a character in a
Hmm.
performance. It's like that. And it's not even really what you're saying. It's always like how you say it has always been something that's been drilled in me. My dad would always tell me that it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's what you hear. Like it has to be, unlike just actions, which are more universal. It's just what we hear from the actor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Voice acting. I mean,
Hmm.
I have some friends that are voice actors. I do some VO, but I have friends that do, animated and, more like film stuff and video games. And it like I'm just always in awe when I see that. I think I love the marriage of motion capture, motion picture, and then voice acting and kind of bringing that all together and finding, something really great. Daniel Day-Lewis. I didn't say Daniel Day-Lewis earlier. I really love Daniel Day-Lewis.
That is understandable.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Who doesn't?
yeah,
Right.
right. Amazing. Well, Justin, can you tell us where people can find your work? How do they contact you if they want to support you, or where can they see your stuff other than Showtime?
Right. Yeah. Showtime. Yeah. That was fun. That was a 2-year deal. We signed a licensing deal. That was fun. We were on Showtime for a couple of years. Right now, I recently did a little bit of work on a feature film that'll be coming out next year. Um, Vanessa Powers, and it's called Silly Little Wounds. Great cast, a lot of great local actors on that. That was like, it was just a really fun. I had one day on it and I had a little monologue, and I shouldn't say little, it was a monologue, and it was a ton of fun. And I'm really excited about them. They also did Sins of the Father. And yeah, that was really great. Where can you find my work? I've got a lot of stuff on Amazon right now, or Freevee, which is part of Amazon Prime. So Dark Cloud is streaming. That came out last year. Accidental Family is also on Freevee. I think Christmas at the Chateau is also on Freevee. And then Come Out Fighting has been out. That came out over the summer, and that's got a bigger cast on it. And that was we shot most of that in Rockford, Illinois. That's got a lot of Minnesota actors. So if you are listening to this and you just want to see some great Minnesota talent, that movie it's a great period war movie. And I've got a couple of scenes in that kind of at the top of the film. And yeah, you can go to my social media and see a lot of my stuff there. I post a lot of my commercial work and trailers for stuff, and I will be going to a few film festivals coming up. So the latest and greatest for the next few months and what's next and on the horizon, you can go to my Instagram, which is just my name, or you can go to Justesaurus, Justesaurus, something like that. Justen Jones on Instagram.
Awesome. I like it. Well, one last question.
Oh
But
boy,
it's kind of the big question. So, what do
I'm
you want people to
vaccinated. I already
remember?
said I'm vaccinated. Okay, guys.
I didn't believe you. No. What do you want people to remember most about you? Whether it's from watching your work or from like working with you.
What do I want people to remember? I think my MO, my philosophy is to leave people and situations better than you found them. And so I think I try to treat myself better because I've been pretty mean to myself over the years. And so my sort of strategy now is to just treat myself better. And I think through osmosis, when you treat yourself well, you treat other people well. And so I think I would like to be remembered as somebody that you felt good around. And maybe you felt seen by or heard by. I try to give time to everybody, which, as you progress through this industry, you meet so many people. So it's tough to give everybody time. But I think, I think that's what I would want to be remembered for, is just making you feel good, whether it's through performance, watching a film that I've been in or a commercial that I've been in, or something like this, listening to, a podcast episode, and maybe there's a pearl of wisdom that somebody walks away with. Ever since I was a kid, I've always felt like I was like a filter, like I was supposed to go through hard things, which I think this is the case for everybody. We're supposed to go through hard things so that we can gain perspective and maybe make it a little easier life for the next person or, anybody that we have a conversation with. So, yeah, I think going through what I've gone through in my life, which it hasn't been an easy path, it hasn't been an easy road. I've had a lot of privilege and I've been very lucky in a lot of ways, but that doesn't make you immune to dealing with hard stuff like mental illness, mental health. And I've made it through some pretty dark times. And so I would like to be of service and help others make their way through their, kind of dark times and challenges that present themselves over the course of their life. So, yeah, I think everyone deserves to feel good about themselves. And if I can help a little bit with that, great.
Yeah,
I love
great.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you literally just like fitting us in. It was really great to get to meet you and learn more about you.
Likewise, I appreciate y'all. Hopefully, I've been having these little like notifications dinging. I'm like a boomer. How do I turn off the notification?
Well, it's all audio. Now you gave it away, so it's like, he's the busy one. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
I'm just
right.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm literally getting spam. I just keep getting.
Turn off your notifications, man. No.
Oh, yeah. I
right.
appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so nice. This is great.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been really wonderful having you.
Yeah.
And to
Go
all of our
Minnesota.
listeners.
Go Minnesota.
Woo!
Next year is going to be amazing. I hope for a really successful, fortunate outcome for the union strikes, for the SAG strike, for the Writers Guild strike. And yeah, I think next year is going to be amazing. I got to attend a few of the Senate meetings.
Yeah, we sat in together.
Sat in together. That's right. We were there together.
Was that March? April?
Yeah, that was in March. Yeah. And then everything passed. And I really think next year is going to be a really electric year for just the industry at large, but also for our market. So that's going to be really cool. Film Minnesota. Here we go.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for listening. And this has been Film in Minnesota.